Hey guys, what's going on? This is Atavi, we are back with another episode on the channel, and today we are going to see how to integrate Stripe into React Native. So there are a lot of tutorials on how to do it, but this is by far the easiest way I have done this, and it also provides a little UI. So let's see how this app works. So I have this build up and running right now. So if I enter my name, hold on. If I just enter my name here, and if I press on subscribe, then this will open a sweet little pop-up, and now here you can enter all your details, and Stripe provides a test card, so I can just use this dummy data for that to work. And now if I click pay, it will do its processing, and then I'll see payment successful, thank you, and it will also be reflected on the Stripe dashboard, and we will see that while we make this thing. So let's start by making this. So first of all, open a terminal, and now here we will make a new folder, a working space, and which will contain our backend and the actual front end of our application. So we'll make a new directory which will say expo Stripe YouTube. You can just give any name to this folder, and we will cd into it expo Stripe YT, and now here we will make another folder for the backend, mkdir backend, and we will leave that for now. And now we will initialize our expo app. So let's do that first. So expo init, and let's skip it expo Stripe. Now this will ask a bunch of questions to you, so let's wait for this. Yeah, so it's important that you can just use any one of these. I just happen to use the blank one because it's easy to set up. You can just use it with basic React Native CLI. I'm just using Expo because it's easier to set up and for the sake of the length of the video. So I'll just hit blank, and then now it will install all the JavaScript dependencies, and I'll resume the video once it's done. Okay, so now our Expo project is initialized. We won't touch that just yet. We need to prepare the backend first. So let's go to cd backend, and now we will run a command called npm init -y. This will set up a package.json for us so that we can use npm packages, which we will need for the backend. Now we will install some packages. Npm install express, which is used for our server. We will use cause so that it's easier to work with our React Native app, and then we will install Stripe, and I guess that's all. If we need anything else, we will just install it. So let's just hit enter, and this will start installing. Okay, now let's go ahead and open our code editor. I'm using Visual Studio Code, so I just have to type code dot, and that will open up the code editor for me. And if you have any other editor, you might want to see how that works. So now this is open for me, and I'll open a terminal here. I'll just split it just in case, and now I'll just create a new file here. I'll call it index.js, and now here, before doing anything, I'll go to package.json, and I'll edit the test. I'll add a new script. I'll just add a dev script which will do nodemon index, and if you don't have nodemon, you can do sudo npm install, and we want to install globally, and nodemon, and this will basically just install nodemon for you, but I already have it installed, so I don't need to do that. So yeah, and now after dev, I'll just add a new script which will start up the application. So in production cases, we will not be covering production in this, but just for the sake of package.json, so let's just do it. I'll say node index.js. So basically nodemon helps you with development. So if you just save the file, it will just reload the entire server, whereas this command, this just runs one time, and if you make any changes, you need to restart the entire server manually. So nodemon is a very handy tool. You guys should check it out. I use it like daily whenever I'm working with backend. So yeah, now in index.js, let's just make a simple express app now. So const express is equals to require express, and now we need to make an app out of it. So app express, and now we need a port to run it on, so we'll just say const port is equal to, for example, for this video I need 8080. So let's just do it, and then I need to use some middleware, so I'll do just app.use. I'll use express.json, and let me tell you why this is important, because when you are sending data from your mobile app or any other front end to your backend, we need this to pass JSON data. We will be using JSON data, so for the Express server to understand it, we need to include this middleware. Previously we used something called body parser, but that's deprecated and Express has the built-in. So yeah, and now we need to import the cors package, so let's do it. Const cors is equal to require cors, and now I'll just do app.use cors. So basically cors package allows network connections from every origin, so if you don't have this installed you will face some issues, so make sure you include this line right here. And then we will do app.listen. I'll listen on the port we just made before, and this is a callback function. I'll just do console log little here, and I'll just say server running on port, so port, and I'll just use template literals. Hopefully I spelled it right. So yeah, and now if we just do npm run dev in the terminal, it should start the server on 8080. We don't have any routes yet, we will work with that, and let's just go to Stripe right now, and let's do what we need to do there. So here's a Stripe dashboard. Yeah, now you can see this. Log into your account, just create a new account. It's free for development, and so you will see your developer keys here. If you don't see here, you can just go into the developers tab here, and then you will see your keys in API keys, and this is the publishable key and the secret key. Now the thing is that you need to keep these secret. Okay, now this has my password. The reason you need to keep this secret is because if anyone gets access to these keys, not the publishable key, but if someone gets access to your secret key, they can just directly access your Stripe account or perform actions using it, or literally just empty your entire account if they want to. So yeah, I'm sharing this for tutorial purposes. Of course I'm going to change the key once the tutorial is done, or maybe I'll just delete the account altogether. I'll just decide. So we need the key right here, so we will just do click to copy. I'll just get this browser away for now, we don't need this. Now we need to make a new file. Because it's private information, we should always store this information in our environment variable file. So I just created a .env file which contains all of our environment variables. Now I'll say stripe secret key, and here I'll just paste in my key. Yeah, perfect. Now for this to work, we need to install another package. So it's very easy to set this one up. So I'll just do npm install .env. And once this gets installed, I need to go to index.js, and on the top of the file, it's very important, before any of the imports happen, you need to do this on the top of the file. So require .env .env .config. That's all. Now this will just set up your environment variables, and you don't need to do anything else now. So now let's just set up Stripe. We need Stripe to do the above work. So let's do this. We will say const Stripe. Yeah, and I give this capital for some reason. I'll show you why. So require Stripe, and now you see this turned blue. That means that we have to pass in a constructor to it. So let's do const Stripe, this time lowercase, and we'll say Stripe, and we'll just pass in the secret key. So how do we import our environment variables here? We say process.env.stripe secret. I hope this had an intelligence. Anyway, so yeah, now I'll just save this file. Now we need to make a new route. So in our app, we had an input of the name of the user, and then we charged 25 units. So let's just move with that. So app dot post. So this will be a post request. If you don't know about how requests works, post request means that you post the data to a server. So that's how it works, and we are creating a new payment here, so that's why I used post. So here we will use we'll make a new path. So I want it to be in /pay, and then I'll make it an asynchronous function so that everything will be easier to work with. And I'll have a request response, and this will be a callback function which will have a try catch block. And I do this because many times Stripe throws error. So let's just handle the error because it's the simplest part. So we will say console.error, and we will say error. So it will just console log it so that the developer can see what's wrong with this thing. And then we will just send a response, because if we don't send a response, the application will be stuck, and it will expect response from us, and it will just wait for the request, and the app will be like hanged in the same position or state, and we don't want that. So we just send a response that, hey, that thing didn't work, you might want to do something else. So yeah, so JSON, and here I'll send a message so that it can be displayed on the front end. The message is internal server error. So notice how I set the status here as 500, because 500 represents that there is some error in the server. Basically it means internal server error, so that's why I just added it to the message. Now let's just extract everything from the data we get from the client. So const, we need the name, we just need the name here. If you have anything else you want, you can have it here. And we will have request.body. Perfect. Now you get this name, and let me tell you, this is possible because we used express.json. So app.use is middleware, so whenever you get any data, it passes it and we get data in this nice form. So now we need to handle what if the name is not passed. So if name, so if there's no name, we will just return, and the return statement is important because it stops execution right there. So we'll say rest.status, and we'll say 400 because it's a bad request, and we'll say, and we'll give a message, please enter a name, because there's no name. So okay, now so this is sorted. Whenever there is no name, it will just return and no code will be executed any further. So after this, now we know that we have the name. Assuming we know that we have the name, now we can just continue with the thing. So now we can just do something with Stripe. So in Stripe there are something like payment intents. So whenever you have payment intents, you can process that and then you can proceed the transactions. So the first step is always creating a payment intent. So let's create that. So const payment intent is equal to await. Await statement is important because this is a network request, so you should always use await whenever possible. So okay, so Stripe dot payment intents dot create. So there is no IntelliSense here, but if you use the Stripe plugin on VS Code, you might see this little IntelliSense thing here. So you might already see what we need here. So we don't need all of this crazy stuff here, we just need a few ones. So amount, so you can just put your amount here, but the thing here is that it includes your secondary currency. For example, in India the primary is rupee and the secondary is paisa. So I don't know if I'm explaining it in the proper form, but that's the way it works. So in US it's like dollars and cents, so in India it's rupee and paisa. So this thing works in paisa, it works on secondary currencies, and the way to deal with that is use math.round, and now just have your actual currency. So for me it's 25 rupees. You can just put any amount you want, and then just multiply it by 100. Sorry for that. And then you can just go ahead and set the currency. Now this is important because it depends on where you are located. You can't just put any currency here. So if I'm from India, I can't just put USD. You need to make a US account on Stripe, but I have the Indian one, so I'll just use INR. But if you are on some other country, you can just use your own code, and you can just find these code on Stripe. Now the next important thing we need is payment method types. So we are using this so that we let Stripe know that we are only using card this time, and if you are using something else you can just include it in the array, but in this episode I'll just cover card payments. Now we need to pass in the metadata. So the reason I brought in a name from the client is because we will pass in it as in metadata. So whenever the payment is done or processed, this metadata will be on the transaction. So if you open the transaction you can just see the name there. So it's, you don't need to have like a fancy databases to store data like this. You can just add it in metadata. So yeah, so I'll just include name. And by the way, name is also like you can just use like this, but it's a simpler way to if you just leave it like this, because the key value pairs are same. So yeah, I hope you understand what I mean. Now how Stripe works is that when you create a payment intent you get a bunch of results and you can just console log this thing, but I know that I need one thing from it. I need the client secret, so I'll use const client secret is equal to payment intent dot client secret, and this is the underscore because Stripe sends us data in JSON and it's converted into object, and this is how we get the data. And the deal with client secret is that this is the secret for the client, so we need to pass this back to the client, and then the client will process the payment from their end. So if there is like additional authentication required, so if like this the 3D secure stuff or anything, if there are additional authentication steps, it will be done on client side with the browser or anything any more necessary. So we need to pass this client secret back to the back as the response. So let's do this. So we'll just say rest.json. We didn't pass a status because it's already assuming 200 by default. So now we will set a message is like payment initiated, and I'll just say we need to pass the client secret because so that the app can work on it, right? Perfect. Now there is one, we will come back to the backend. There's one more thing I wanted to let you know is about the webhooks, how to deal with post payment processing. I don't want to do this right now. For those who just want to see how to process payments simple way, this is how you can do. If you want to see how to do the advanced one, how to do fulfillment of the order, stick to the very end of the video and I'll let you know. So this is backend done for us now. Now let's go back to our terminal and let's open up our app. So I'll just do cd dot dot. Now we have expo stripe yt cd expo stripe. Okay, now I'll open code. Perfect. Now this is open. I'll just do this full screen. We might not need to because we need the simulator. So if you are on Windows, you might need to use something like an Android simulator, but I'm on Mac OS and I have if you have Mac OS, you can just install Xcode. It's available on the App Store, and you can use the simulator. It's way too easier. And if you have a physical device, there is a problem. If you use physical device for this, I would recommend deploying that backend to Heroku first for testing, because the thing is that this is deployed on your local host, and if you use your physical device doesn't know what localhost is. The physical device localhost is it in its own. It can't access the localhost of your Mac, and if you want to do that, you need to do some cool router stuff and thing, and it's basically just easier to use Heroku. So I'll just use a simulator in this case. It's just way too easier. Now I'll just go to the terminal here. I'll split the terminal. Now let's start the app. How do we do that? I'll just say npm start. We don't need to worry about the scripts here because Expo already made it for us. So I'll just say npm start. Now this will do Expo start. Let's wait for it. Developers tools running, and yeah, when you see this thing, I'll just press I. So if you are using Android, you can see here there are a lot of things. So if you are Android, you just press A. If you are on iOS, you just press I. So I'll just do I because I have an iOS simulator open. So this will say opening on iOS. Now this will open on iPhone 13, which is right next to it, and it will do its magic. Till then, let's install a package we need for Stripe. So let's go ahead and install, and we don't need to do npm install, we need to do expo install. That's because the package we need must be configured by Expo, so that we don't need any additional setup. So keep that in mind. If you are using React Native CLI for this thing, you might need to do some additional setups. I'm not sure about that. I just tried this in Expo. So let's do this expo install. add stripe. We will do stripe reactnative. I guess this is the package name. Let's see. Till then, let's see how this app works. So we have the open up your app.js to start working on your app. It runs, and if you change anything, so if I just change this app.js to welcome to app, open up app, just anything, and if you just save it, it will just do its magic, and you don't need to reload the app every time. That's the magic of React Native. Now this package is installed. You can see it said like installing one SDK, S44 compatible native module, Expo handles it, everything. So yeah, it's installed. Basically it's installed. Now what we need to do is we need to use the Stripe in this project. So what we will do is we'll just remove these things. We don't need we need the auto status bar, because if you remove it, it just turns white and we need to configure it every time. I don't know, it's just problem with me and some other people. For rest everyone it works fine. I don't know why. So okay, so we need to use Stripe provider. So we will use auto import. So if you just press enter, it will get imported here. So we need to use Stripe provider. So we use this because if we use this, we get hooks in the child components, which makes our life very easier. So Stripe provider, we need to pass in the publishable key, and I'll just close this thing, and I'll just we will put in the publishable key in just a sec. I'll just create a new components folder. I will have a new folder called payment.js, and I'll use rnfv. If you don't have, you need to install ES7 React Redux snippets. It's available on the VS Code store. So if you just do this, it will just bring this in. So I'll just say payment, and just for the dummy data, and now here we will import it. So I'll just use payment, and I'll auto import it. So whenever you have any payment related stuff, make sure you enclose it in Stripe provider. It will make your life a lot easier, and I guess that's the only way you can do it. I'm not sure about any other way. So let's go get our publishable key. So here's our Stripe CLI publishable key. Click to copy, just send this back again. Publishable key, let's paste this thing in. Let's click save. Now this will give us a warning that it needs to be in an environment variable file, but we are doing this for testing, and I'll just leave it here. And it's a publishable key, of course. It doesn't matter if it goes anywhere, anyone uses it, it doesn't matter, because all the critical stuff is handled by the secret key. So let's just forget for now. So let's go back to the payment. You can already see that it says payment, so it's rendering this out. So the advantage of this thing is that we can now use the Stripe hook. So we can just use const stripe, and we can use uStripe, and this thing right here, this Stripe object right here, which is getting generated, this gives us access to a lot of different things, which makes our life a lot easier. So let's just see how this works. So before doing anything, we need to pass the name to the server. So let's just make a state for it. So const name set name, and I'll say uState. Make sure you import it, and just leave it empty. So initial state of the text box would be empty. So I'll just say text input. Make sure, yeah, this is one thing. So when you write text input, for whatever reason, it tries to import from React Native Web. Make sure you don't do this. We need it from React Native, and it's a very annoying thing, I know, but I don't know why this happens. You just need to deal with that for some time until VS Code actually fixes it. So text input, and here we will have like value. The initial value of this text box will be name, and now we need to set an handler so that we can change the name and we can sync with the state. So let's do that. On change text, we can do text, and this will be a callback function which will set name, and we'll just say text. So whenever this is changed, the state updates. So yeah, it's self-understandable. So we will also have a placeholder, and we will say name just for clarity. And now you see this is a cute little thing, and if we just click it, you see that cursor thing, and this is simulator, so that's why you can't open keyboard directly. There are ways to open it, but let's just leave it. And now to make this a little visual so that we can interact with it easily later, let's just give it a little style, and we'll just say like we won't do a lot of styling here, we'll just use simpler styles. So I'll say like width should be 300, font size should be 20, I use padding 10, and I'll use border width 1. Okay, it's already looking better. It's not looking good, but just okay. So now we need to have a buttons which can handle all the things. So we will have a new button, and we will say title, subscribe, and and we will say 25 INR. This is just a button. It doesn't matter, you don't have to include the price, you just make a button and do whatever you want to do with it. I just want to include the price. So on press, I want a new function named subscribe, and we are yet to make the function. We will just make it right now. So let's go here and make a new function called subscribe, which will be an asynchronous function. And of course we will have a try catch block which will console log the error, and we will have a little error. So just auto import alert and dot alert, something went wrong, try again later. A cute little message. And let's just save this. And now here's the thing. Now here we need to do all the stuff. So the first thing we need to do, if you think about it, the first thing we need to do is set the name to the address we made before. So our server was like running at localhost 8080. So let's do it. So sending the request, I'll just leave comments so that you can understand this better. So sending request, we will do const response await fetch, and here we need to provide the URL as the first parameter. So I'll just say http localhost, provide any URL. If you are using Heroku, you must provide your Heroku URL here, localhost 8080/pay, because that's the thing, that's the route we made. And now we need to pass a config object, and if you are using Axios, this will be way too simpler, but I don't want to increase dependencies for no reason. So let's just use fetch, and we need to set the method to post, because in Axios in the backend we set the method to post. So method post, then we need to set the body, and the thing is here that we need to pass the body as JSON. Remember that we had JSON parser there, so we will just send body as JSON. So JSON.stringify, and we will just pass in the name from the state directly. What? Okay, name. And the next thing we want is headers, and we need to tell the server that hey, this is JSON data and not just randomly text. So we will say content type, and we will say application, so application/JSON. So this is a basic content type, so nothing special here. So let's go ahead and create a new, let's see how this response works. So now I'll just say const data, so the data we get back will be a JSON format. So we will say await response.json. Now this will give all the JSON data and save it in data. Now the difference is that the response contains all the details about the request, like if it was successful or whatever things we need, and the data contains the actual data. It stores it in an object. So now let's see if the the request was successful. Unlike Axios, we need to check it here. So we will say response. If the response is not okay, so if the response is not okay, we need to pass in an alert. So return alert dot alert, and we will pass in the data.message. So why data.message? Because if anything went wrong, we might get it from the backend, and we will just get it right here. And if there's no internet connection, you will just see something went wrong. So let's just do this, and it's returned. So any error, just stop the execution right there. Nothing works anymore. Okay, so now what we are expecting is that we will get a client secret which we need to handle. So let's just get that client secret out of that thing. So we will use const client secret is equals to data dot client secret, because we will be using this in a lot of places. So now we need to initialize the sheet. So we are using something like payment sheet. So the thing we saw before, like that black box pops up and you are required to enter all the card details, that's not something created by us. It's created by Stripe, and we just get to use it, and it's way too cool. You don't need to make custom forms, and you don't need to save all that sketchy data in your server. Stripe handles everything, and that's a way better thing, way better way to do stuff. So now let's initialize this sheet, and this is a bit tricky. I don't know why we need to do this, but first we need to initialize it, and then we need to present it. You will know what I mean. So const init sheet, and we will say await Stripe. Now here we get to the Stripe part. So init sheet, init payment sheet, and now here we need to pass in the client secret. So now I don't want to. Okay, client secret. So here is payment intent client secret. Now we will pass in the client secret in here. Now there's one thing. So here's my theory on it. Just strike me right now. So here's my theory. If the init sheet doesn't work, it might give us an error, and if the init sheet works, we can just present it. So first we need to check if there is any error in this thing, in this step. So we will say if init sheet dot error, we will say return alert dot alert, and we will say init sheet dot error dot message. This will contain the message, so it will just return it back to the user as it is. Now we will say const present sheet, and now this will actually show you the payment sheet. First we were just initializing it, now this will actually show you the payment sheet. So we will say await present we need Stripe first, Stripe dot present payment. So yeah, you just see you have Apple Pay, we have Google Pay, we need the payment sheet. You can just integrate Apple Pay and Google Pay. I will make a video on that later. Just write in the comment section if you want to see that video. I'll just say present sheet payment sheet right now, and I'll just pass in the client secret. And so yeah, client secret, and the key values are same, so we just do that, and we will check if there is any error. So at this point, when this step is done, we assume that the user has tried to do the payment. So after the after we get to this line, the user has attempted the payment, and now we can just see what's wrong with the payment, or if there's any error. So we'll just say present sheet dot error. So we will just say if did we do anything wrong? Okay, perfect. So return alert dot alert, and we will say present sheet dot error dot message, just like we did before. So we will save this and go back, and if there is any error, it will just get sorted out here and here. And if there is not any error, there is just one case that the payment is finally successful. There are a lot of ways you can do that. You can just query your Stripe account from your backend using your secret key. But let's just make things simpler and just say that your payment is complete right here, right now. So let's just say alert dot alert, and we will say that payment complete, thank you. Okay, so everything is done. Let's just see if this works. So if I just send this without any name, this should send me an error. Yeah, so it says please enter a name, and this works perfectly fine. So I'm happy about that. So now let's try it with a name. So if I do choose Athava, and if I do subscribe, you see this sweet little box coming up. And yeah, this is way too awesome right now. I feel so good. And now you can just enter your card details here. So if you want to get past this, just type 4242424 over and over again until you reach here. So this card doesn't require any authentication. We will see some cards which require authentication in just a bit. So first let's just see how this works without any authentication cards. And these are Stripe test cards, so don't worry about anything. So yeah, now payment complete. Thank you. Now let's see how this thing works with authentication. Now this is the web page. You can just go to this web page and you can see a lot of information. So now we will go down here and you will see this thing called regulatory 3D secure test card number. So basically if you're based in India, this might relate to you because here you can because whenever you try to do some payment, it basically asks you for your OTP. And I'm not sure about any other countries, but I guess there's something similar to that. So you can see these card numbers. You can just copy this and let's see if we can paste this in the simulator. Subscribe. Can I paste this? No, I can't. So let's just type this 4000 3155, and rest you can just type anything you want. So I'll just 24242424 for no reason whatsoever. Now let's just try to pay. It will start processing, and this requires 3D secure, so it will open up Safari here. Look guys, this is so awesome. I love this thing. Now this will try to load Stripe web page. My internet is slightly slow. Now this will say this is a test payment in production environment. You might just see here a pop-up which will send OTP to your number, and then you need to authorize your transaction or any other way in any other country, whatever the authentication method is. So this is just a dummy page, so it will just give you some options. We know how complete authentication works. We will try to fail this time, so I'll just click fail, and now this should give me an error. Now authentication complete, and if we just close this, it will say we are unable to authenticate a payment method, please choose a different payment method. And if I just pass it this time, let's see what happens. Stripe.com, it's so awesome. Now this is the complete authentication. Now this should do its thing, and now we should be prompted to close this window. Perfect. And now you see this little tick mark, and that's done. Okay, now I want to show you something. Now let's see what was the significance of adding the name. So this is my Stripe dashboard. If you go to payments, you will see a lot of different things here. So it's loading. Okay, so this is the recent transaction we did, and if you just open it, and now you can see a lot of different things here. So this is so good. If you are testing this is so good. You can just see a lot of things, and the best part of this is that you can see your metadata right here. So you passed in Athava, it just put Athava there. So if you just pass any name, any address, anything you want to pass, it will just display it right here. And it's awesome. You don't need databases for this. Of course, it's better if you are working with databases in production environment. If you are just trying to test and have fun with this thing, I guess metadata will be good for you. So yeah, let's just get this thing out here. So basically, yeah, this is how we work with Stripe and React Native. So if you don't want that advanced stuff where we do the fulfillment of the order, you can just exit the video right here. Subscribe if you like this video, and yeah, so now let's just see how to do that advanced thing. So whenever the payment completes, we want Stripe to notify us whenever the payment is complete, so that we can fulfill the order. So basically when the payment gets completed on the client side, so the problem here is that the payment gets completed on the client side and the backend has no idea, but Stripe has an idea that payment hasn't completed, and Stripe can let your backend know that, hey, that this person has completed his payment, just fulfill that order. And let's just do that. So let's go back to our backend. We need our backend here. Now we need to create a new route. So we will just say app.post, and we will call it /stripe. So remember, this route is not for the end public, and this will be verified. So basically Stripe will send request to this URL, just as we were sending fetch request to our own endpoint. Stripe will send request to this endpoint to let us know that hey, there's a payment been processed or something has been happening to your payment. And this can be accessed only by Stripe because there are some signatures we need to verify. So we will do that right here. So I'll just say async, and I'll say request response, and we'll just do this. And I won't do try catch here because Stripe does this a slightly different way, and I want to perfectly imitate how they do. So first we need to get the signature. So I'll say const sig, and we need to get the signature from the header. So basically they send the signature from the header so that we can verify the request easily. So we will do request.headers, and this is basically an array, and we can just get the header here. So we can just say Stripe signature. I know this is a little tricky, that's why I just put it in the end of the video. So if you are really into this stuff, you can just do this. So now we need to do initialize an event. So this event will be modified by Stripe in the next step. So yeah, so let's just now we need a try catch block. Now we will just say console.error and error, and now we will just send back the response to Stripe that hey, this thing didn't work. So basically this thing is like if someone else than Stripe. So basically if the user is a little brain person, and if he thinks that hey, if I just send a request to his backend and tell him that your transaction is complete, even though it's not, we get to know it easily because of the signature things, and we will be handling that in cat try block. So if we get to know that hey, this is a tampered request, this is not from Stripe, this code will be executed. So we will just say rest.status. We will say that hey, this is a bad request, yeah, because it is a bad request. So JSON, we will say message, and we will do error.message. So this will be a message provided by the Stripe package to us. Now we will set the event here. So we initialized event here because this is in try block, so of course we need this event later, so that's why. Now we will do await Stripe dot webhooks dot construct event. And now we need to pass in three things. First we need to pass request.body, which we don't need to touch here because that's the thing which Stripe will do it for us. We don't need to touch it. So we will pass in the signature, so it's sig, and the third is we will pass in a Stripe webhook secret, which will make in just a bit. We need to set up some things for it, and we will do it right just after this. So process.env.stripe webhook secret. Now this thing should construct the event for us, and now we can just handle everything easier. So I'll just copy this code right here because it's a bit too repetitive, I guess, and I'll just paste this right here. You can just pause the video. And see what this is. But basically we are just checking event.type, and we are checking when the payment is initialized and when the payment is succeeded. So the fulfillment part is that when the payment is succeeded, you can do your fulfillment here. So basically if you are an e-commerce site, so you can just say that hey, this order is placed, now you can just try to deliver it. So you can just do that code right here. It depends on what type of application you're actually building. So yeah, the Stripe provided us with such good thing, and now let's set up the webhook thing. So first of all, you need to have this thing called that Stripe plugin in your VS Code. This will make things a lot easier for you. You don't need to do a lot of things. So now if you have this, go to this little S icon. Now if you don't have Stripe CLI, I didn't do this on purpose because I want to show you from start how to do this. So I'll do install Stripe CLI. Now this will open a web page. Let me show you. Now it will show a lot of different things. Now we need to install this. So depending upon your operating system, just install this thing. So I'll just copy this thing and I'll go ahead and install this into the terminal. So this will install it global. Okay, so brew is not found, so I need to install brew. So I need to install homebrew. So if you're on Mac OS, just click here. I'll just tell you how to do that. So homebrew, this is the page for it. Just copy the script, go to your VS Code or any other terminal you have and just paste this thing in. Checking for sudo access, just enter your password. So these are the steps only for Mac OS. If you are on Windows, there might be some other steps you might need to follow. I just showing this to you because these are some obstacles you need to overcome. So that's why I'm just doing this in front of you, that hey, this is not anything difficult or supernatural. You can just do that very easily. So it's finding available software, and I'll resume the video once this thing is done. Okay, so it took quite a lot of time to install. So yeah, just let's go ahead and install the Stripe CLI now. So let's just go ahead and paste this thing here. Now this should install Stripe CLI, and I don't think this will take a lot of time. Okay, permission denied. I don't think that's too important. So after this is enabled, we can just use the Stripe CLI. So what we intend to do is we are trying to pass in the webhook to our side, and when we are trying to do it in a production environment, you need to do it with the dashboard, but we are just focusing on development, and I'll just post a video on production environment later. And this thing is installed, and let's see if we can access Stripe. So if we go Stripe, and can we use reload Stripe reload? No, we can't. So okay, so let's just say reload. We will just do Command Shift P, reload, and we will just say reload window, and now this will get reloaded, and now you can see Stripe CLI here. Now if your terminal is dead, just start the server again, and now you can just see this thing here. You might need to reload your window, so I just did that. Now what you need to do is you need to click this button right here which says forward events to your whatever thing. So let's just click this here, and now it will ask us for the URL. So it says enter local URL to forward webhook events. So we made a URL, so it's definitely not 3000, it's 8080/Stripe. So this was the path where Stripe is supposed to send us request, and I'll just copy this because we need to paste this again. So I'll just hit enter now. Okay, so it's already there. So this asks us again for connect applications. We will cover connect applications in some other video, and those are some cool stuff too. I'll just press enter. Now this said you need to log in with the Stripe CLI, so I'll just click log into the account. So if you see this permission denied thing, just like I got it, so I guess we just need to copy this thing, this command which Stripe made for us. I'll just copy it and just do sudo before it. It should not say permission denied. I am not sure why it says that. So now it says checking for new version. Now this says enter this URL in the browser, so let's copy this URL. I'll bring in the browser, hold on. Let's just go back to the browser. I'll just open a new tab. I'll just paste this URL in. Now let's wait for it. It's loading, it's loading, it's loading. It's so slow. Okay, now this is loading the thing, and now we need to authorize here. So now it will say verify that the pairing code below matches the one with Stripe CLI login command. Now it says the glitz usable mighty woo. Glitz usable mighty woo. Yeah, it definitely matches. Now I'll do allow access, and now this automatically allows our system to use Stripe CLI so that we can manage everything through VS Code itself. So I faced some issues, and yeah, so I just fixed them. I used a normal terminal and I had to restart my entire system. So yeah, it worked. It was a little buggy for me. I don't know why, but it worked. Okay, so after this is done, you can just go back to your VS Code, just do this again. Now this will have it things, and just press enter. Now I'm already logged into the CLI. I'll just do this sudo now. I'll just enter sudo because it doesn't work for me for whatever reason. Now this will say getting ready, and hopefully this works now. You are using Stripe API version. Your webhook secret is this. Now remember, in the backend thing, we needed the webhook secret, so we'll just copy this secret right here, and we will go to our env file, and first we will see what name we give it. Stripe webhook secret, right? So we will just make a new webhook secret variable here. So Stripe webhook secret. I'll just paste this here. Perfect. Now we can just restart the server by going back to a terminal. I'll just say node-mon index. Server is running on port 8080. Let's go back to here, and let's start our app basically. So I'll just do npm start. Name real quick, Athava. I'll just press subscribe, and this said something went wrong. Network request failed, and what could be the reason? Okay, okay, just restart the server. Let's see if this works now. Server, perfect. Now we just named now. Okay, this crashed again. Cannot read property. Something is wrong here. So event type, okay, construct event. So what is wrong with construct? Oh, they got away with a typo. So yeah, it's webhooks, not webhooks. So let's save this, and let's go back to this thing, and let's just cancel it for now, and let's try to do it again. Now again it's saying this, cannot read property of undefined, and we got again with a typo. So it should be not header, it should be headers, because header is a function and headers is an array. So don't repeat my mistakes, just typo errors, don't freak out. So I'll just save this, and this should reload. Let's try this again, and hopefully this works this time. And I'll just cancel this payment, and now I'll try again. It crashed again. Okay, now what does this has to say? It says it got the header this time, but now this time it says no signature found, matching expected. Okay, so now this thing, you will get this error, and I did get this error a lot of times, and I was wondering how to fix it. Now there is one solution. There is one express middleware you need to use so that this get fixed, and just go back to your express.json thing, and paste this thing, and remember to change this with whatever route you are using for your Stripe webhook. So what happens is, when you are using Stripe packages, they need their own raw data type, and we don't need to use our JSON parser. So this is the one down thing for JSON parser, but JSON parser is quite useful thing, and we can just use express.raw in this thing, so that this thing works perfectly fine. And now this should work again. Let's see. We'll just go back here. You see, whenever you just go through the code, you just find errors, and then you can just solve it. Now you can see Atharva initiated payment. It opened from the metadata. Now I can just enter the details, and I'll just pay. Let's see if this works. Processing. Okay, payment complete, thank you. And now you see Atharva succeeded payment. That means that, hey, the payment has been successful. Now you can fulfill the order. That's it, guys. This is working, and I want to see you guys do the same, and use Stripe in your React Native applications and do something crazy with that. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you liked this video, I know it was a little crazy, we had some bugs, but we solved it together. So that's a plus, I think. So if you like this video, make sure you like the video and subscribe and share it with your friends, so that I get the reach, and it really keeps me motivated to make more videos like this. So thanks, I'll see you in the next one.